Hello, hello. This is Kristina, your host today. And today is a new episode of KSM Podcast, going to be the song with Kristina. And my dear audience, I'm so excited today to have my special guest speaker, lady Elizabeth Blake Thomas, far away from USA. Elizabeth, welcome to the show today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you for joining me, and I'm so excited to have you today. And Elizabeth is such amazing personality. She's a director, she's producer, and by the way, she will tell you. And Elizabeth, please introduce yourself.
It's a really interesting one. I've never been on a podcast where I've had to actually give myself almost the compliments of describing who I am. So I'm going to really enjoy this. Okay, here we go. I am an incredible mother of an amazing daughter, and we run Mother Daughter Entertainment together, which is a production company. I am a two times TEDx speaker, a author of three published books with a fourth one coming out this year, and a creator of a whole children's set of books, which again I'm working on. I direct movies, produce movies. I wouldn't say I'm a screenwriter, but I help with the development of the movies we work on. I'm an artist, a creator, and a creativity coach. So I inspire other people in whatever form their creativity decides to show itself. I help them bring that to fruition.
Elizabeth, you're really amazing person, especially when you mentioned that you're an incredible mother, which is so important. And Elizabeth, tell us a little bit, what was your background before you started all this? Because you're a multi-skilled person, so do many things, and I really congratulate you on your intro and what you do. I'm so honored to have you today.
Well, it's very kind of you. I mean, I personally feel like whatever skills I have um, were there from the minute I was born. I just didn't necessarily know. And so as I've grown, things have been nurtured. So maybe I'm very good at listening to my gut. So when I have felt something, I've gone with it. So if that's a change in location, or if moving from the UK 6,000 miles to LA, or if that's been an idea that has been downloaded to me, then I will write it, I will create it. So, as far as a kind of background into this, I would just say there was a natural affinity to create. Something in me knew that I wanted to do that. And whatever was thrown at me, whether it was writing, performing, singing, being in a different environment that allowed creativity, I let it flow. And so I've never stopped myself. So people say I'm fearless. I've never stopped myself from doing it. So I wouldn't necessarily say I had a background in any of this. Like my parents weren't creative per se. I was in a middle of England, which is, I mean, we have GCSEs in England. And when I was younger, we didn't even have drama GCSE. You know, they had to bring that in for our year. So I don't believe I was given a world in which to play and be creative. So I had to form that myself. And then what I've done is just not stopped. I've never taken no for an answer. So I think that's kind of led me to where I am.
Yeah, and your creativity is amazing because as you said, what I have, I wanted just to start with this and your intuitions in some way to start with
Very
all
much.
those things what you do.
Exactly. And I think there's a part of me that really listens to that and has listened to it. And actually, only recently, which is something we can discuss in a bit, is that I got my adult autistic diagnosis. And I think a lot of creatives have that in them. And so I look back and I go, that's why I was like that. That's why I wanted that. That's why I feel that. And I didn't know this, but I listened to my intuition, which was part of my diagnosis. And so now it's incredibly freeing because I can understand how I work, how my brain works, why I need to be creative, and what that looks like.
It's amazing, I'm so for today. You're such an amazing speaker today, and I really know to have for you many many questions. And it's very interesting when you mentioned that you're artist, singer, am I right? Producer, uh, writer, speaker. And for example, just like for our audience, I always wanted to ask my guest speakers, because you have many skills, as I said, and you said that. And what triggered you to start your company, entertainment company, with your daughter, for example? Because I know that I can ask, as I said, I can ask you many, many things today.
Yeah, so I can give you the answer actually to almost all of the things of why, because there definitely was a
That will
moment.
be perfect
Yes,
if you
there was
can
a
do
moment that
that.
I like the light bulb hits. So I'll start with the so when I was younger, I ran a theatre company. And the reason I did that was plain and simple. I had ideas, I had a passion for theatre, I had people that wanted something, so I had a market for it, and I needed to earn money. So there was this wonderful exchange to be able to say, I can give you my skills and your young people, children, teenagers get something in return. So that was a really nice way of beginning my creative career. Once I'd done that, I then had ideas that would constantly flow. And I would write them and keep them there, waiting for the moment when it would be relevant. But my biggest moment was when I had my daughter, and she was just enamored with my theatre company. She'd come to classes that I would run, and I saw her really enjoy that. And so she got into the industry in front of the camera. She was an actress. In fact, let me just pause and go back to a moment that is really important to say as well. There's another reason that gives me my drive is because I was told by a couple of family members that I couldn't do something, that I wasn't any good at something. And if you tell me that, then I like to prove everybody wrong, because why would that need to be said? Anybody can do anything. So that was an impetus for my, I think, inbuilt system of I'm not going to give up. And there was a line in a movie the other day that said, why are you doing this? Are you doing this to prove people wrong? And I said, actually, I'm not. I'm doing it to prove myself wrong, because I could easily believe that I'm not good enough or I can't do something. So I'm doing this because I was told those things. It makes me want to go, no, I can. Anything is possible. I'm doing it to prove myself wrong. So to go back to my daughter, she was an actress, and we were on set when she was 7 years old. And there was another mother on set, a lovely mother, and she had a son who was just about to turn 18. And when you turn 18, parents are no longer needed on set. And this lady was really upset. She had no idea what she was going to do in life. She was nervous about her next stage. And I thought, that's what happens. Mothers put all this time in, they support them, especially in the acting world, and then they no longer need you. And we're, 30, 40 years old with nothing then to do because we've had to chaperone them. And that was the moment when I thought, I'm not going to be like that. So I got back to my writing, I got back to my directing. I was still with Isabella on set, but I encouraged all these other elements of me to continue, knowing that when she hit that age, I would be okay. So then I worked back. I like to work back and reverse engineer things. So if 18 was going to be I was no longer needed, then 14 would be the age I would need to really start doing things with her. And we built Mother Daughter Entertainment. I started producing, directing her, bringing people together so that it had been already in the works for 4 years when she turned 18, and then she could work with me. So that's the first one.
Oh, amazing, and congratulations. Because I wanted to say, when people talk about imposter syndrome, you overcame it.
Yeah.
In that way, I'm not good enough. But I really love that you said, okay, I just, when you try something, never give up. And this is, and
And I
okay, and just, when we are, when it's in our childhood, don't do this, don't do that. You're not good in that. Just like our parents, what they told us many times, that, and like, and my parents as well. And when you grow up, you see, okay, why I shouldn't do that? This is like something, when it's like that we create some form which is not good for kids, to give them freedom to do it with that they are creative or something. So that's
I
amazing,
think it is
really.
a British thing as well. I do think there's a Britishness about it, because you're not supposed to say how good you are or that you want something or to go out and get it. So everything I've done has definitely given a feeling of, oh, that's why I started with, I'm an incredible mother, because I can tell you that I have done everything in my power to support, to encourage, to be there, all the things that actually, and ironically, not at a young age, from the age of 18 onwards, when you think maybe your children don't need you, they need you more. They need that stability. They need the understanding of, what does this look like? What's possible? What am I capable of? And that's the biggest thing I've tried to work towards. And I like to inspire. I like to inspire other people to say, why wouldn't you do that? Why can't you do that? Anything is possible. And that comes back to something we can talk about in a bit, which is also, what does that level of success look like? Because someone might say, well, hold on, you're not successful because you haven't won an Academy Award. Well, why does that have to be my success? My success is, I live in LA, I make movies, I earn money, I'm creative, I am successful. And I think that's what people get kind of taken up by is, well, if I've not been New York Times bestseller, and I've not won my Academy Award, and I'm not the number one company in the world, oh, well, then I didn't do it. I didn't make it. And that's just bull crap.
Yeah. So, and we can say that every single person in the world is authentic, and every single person has ability and skill to do something, to be creative, to create something. And this is, don't do that, don't do this. So, and I really congratulate you that for audience who will listen this episode, just to encourage people, to encourage, if they wanted to start business or something like that, whatever they want, if they have business idea, whatever they have in their mind, to move forward. I mentioned before we start this episode, I was so shy in front of camera, but either that English is my second language, and I like to speak more than to write or read or something like that. And I do challenge 21 day, and after that, with my mentor coach from Australia, we were running one Facebook group, and then I created 15 videos talk about digital marketing, however, and hosted for ladies entrepreneurs. And this is how my podcast started. I have never dreamed about that I will be podcaster one day. You're a podcaster as well, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
But what you're describing is something that people say when I work with them. It was, well, how can I be a writer? Well, have you put one word down on a piece of paper? And I like to suggest people use pen to paper as well and not just type. They'll say, no, well, then, okay, so write a word. Now you're a writer. Do you want to be a director? Then find the movie and grab your iPhone. You can direct. You want to be an artist? Get a piece of paint and a paintbrush and put it on a canvas. There is nothing now that stops us. Again, I'm not saying you're suddenly going to be Picasso or Hemingway, but there is a place for everybody. There is a place for everybody to create their art and to make a start. one of the biggest mistakes I believe people make when they're starting a business is they immediately go to, well, I need an office, I need equipment, I need business cards, I need this. Well, nowadays you don't need any of that. Nowadays, you do not need to have those elements to say you're a business owner or a creator. The phone does everything. It does everything. Teach yourself, because if you really want to do it, you'll find a way. And I find that works within most things. If you really want to do it, you will write a screenplay. Doesn't matter if it's not correct formatting or whatever. If you really want to do it, you'll do it. It's when people aren't sure about it, and actually maybe that's not in them and it's not their flow. But listen to that, maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing right now. Because that's the other thing. Who says when? Look, the guy that created the wave, I think he was 94 when he was, no, 84 when he was finally pleased, the Japanese artist, with the wave he'd created. At 84, why not? And I think we're all much more aware now that you don't have to have done this by the age of 23. There is an audience for everything. And again, what does that look like for you? Are you looking at needing 1 million people to tell you you're amazing? Or am I grateful that I'll have 4 people that might respond to something and say, thank you for changing my life? That's my success.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And when you mention about the business, you don't need to have such a brilliant business card, logo, whatever. But the first and foremost, people work with people. And you mentioned you have only your phone, and start with something. And your momentum is tomorrow, is exactly now. Don't waste time. Just move forward and start. If you don't start, you have never know how it's going to be.
Exactly. If you look now and think, when I look back at my first book that I wrote, I came up with a story when I was 19, and I still have that one, and it's going to be published later this year. And I look at that and go, I'm so glad I started. Because if you don't start, then there is no point. And then suddenly 10 years down the line, you'll go, oh, I wish I'd done that then. It's like taking photos of yourself. This is really important. A lot of people get to an age and they go, well, I don't want photos of myself. Oh, I don't look right. I don't look good. Look at my lines. Well, I can assure you in 10 years' time, you're going to have more. So take that photo, because those moments are important. Don't put it off. But the other thing that's important is to not kill yourself doing it. Again, we've been brought up in a society that says we have to exhaust ourselves, otherwise we're not successful. We have to live a life that looks like we are working 24/7. That's not success. We've been sold a lie. What's successful to me is waking up in the morning to be able to give my daughter a hug. It's to know that I can go for a walk in the fresh air. So grateful for that. Come back, have a hot shower, have some healthy food from my fridge, create something. And that might be writing, painting, working with my daughter, writing my next article, coming up with ideas, and then maybe speaking to a friend or two, and then going to bed. That's pretty successful to me.
I agree, because we are only human being. We are not machines. We are not, we have only 8 hours per day to work. But in some way, people in terms how many years they have, if they are older, they have the other habits. Just like our habits is not when we were so young. This our brain changes, and our body changes and everything. So, and our approach to life and everything, experience and.
Exactly. Every experience adds to us, and we're like that onion, aren't we? We build with our experience. And that's why that's a really important thing, actually, Kristina. I had a woman who wanted to write a book, and she started, and she was writing for a few months, and then she said, there's much more to add into this. I'm not done with my life yet. There's more that's going to happen over the next year, 2 years. And I said to her, well, that's going to continuously happen. So you have to write in this moment, write that, get that one out, and then you'll do your next one, because life is the journey. We're never going to be done. So that film that I might think now is relevant to what I'm feeling now, well, in a year's time, I'm going to have experienced something different. So that film will never be ready to be shot because I'm going to constantly be experiencing things. So write it, paint it, create it, do it now, and then in a year, tweak, change, do something different, add on to it, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes when people do something, for example, we have done something, we have written on whatever, and then maybe it's some time past, like 1 year, and when I start reading that, I can sometimes I cannot recognize that I wrote that, you know,
Yeah,
because it
very
was in
much so.
that, it was momentum. So we need, as you mentioned, use your momentum and start. And also, I'm a co-author of the book Global Women in Business, which is published in print 2019 in Melbourne, in Sydney. Oh, so sorry, in Melbourne, in Australia. And I have one of that chapter, and I'm also a writer in some way, co-authors, and planning to write my book also. But that's something, because written word is so important. It has its legacy. It is legacy for our family, for our kids, for its legacy when one day that people come and read something that Elizabeth or Christina was writing about something, or
Yeah,
whoever. So
definitely. Definitely. And also, I think writing in the moment, because as I said, my fourth book that's going to be coming out later, I wrote my last chapter that I didn't know I was going to be writing. And I wrote it, I call it live because I literally wrote it each day as this journey was happening over a 4 month period. And so when I had to go back to edit it, I looked at it and I wanted to, because of what I'd been taught, oh, I need to add punctuation. I need to make this make sense. I need to flow. And then I went, no, the point of this is it is live. This is what I was feeling as I was going through that exact grief at that moment. And it is so powerful because I was able to annotate it. And I think that that is going to have a huge impact on people because grief was this conscious flow and I haven't gone in to correct it because you can't correct what you're feeling when you're in that state of mind.
yeah, that's so true. And when you mentioned your producing company with your daughter, uh, what type, what kind of movie do you produce? You produced or still producing? And just for our listeners, just if you can just, I have many questions for you today, but I think that we will have again a podcast because I have, for your experience and your skills, I can host you a few times. Every episode to be to focus on something in your life and
Okay,
business.
well, so I like stories that and movies that are going to have an impact on someone, maybe change a perspective. Also, from a perspective of what could that have um, going further into their life. So, for example, if I was telling a story about child trafficking, it's not just because they're watching something about child trafficking. It's actually for them to learn something. Maybe they go and Google it. Maybe they learn more. Maybe there's a bigger impact in the world. So I like stories like that. But I also enjoy stories that maybe I did a rom-com during COVID that was going to make people laugh and happy at that time because we were feeling, the world was very dark. The cloud was on us. And so by making something light-hearted, that equally had a huge impact. I also love telling children's stories. I feel like my inner child is still there at the age of kind of 10. I feel that's where I was. And so when I come up with children's stories, I love coming up with movies that I would have liked at that age. And then stories that highlight something about somebody, maybe a disability or a hidden disability, even. I think there's a world now in which people connect to stories like that. And I also like putting good things out in the world. Like we're filled with a world with hate a lot of the time, with people wanting to watch things that are dark. And I feel like I try to put kindness and goodness into the world as well. So I'm okay with doing most things as long as one of those is ticked.
That's good. And I really like to host speakers who are happy, who are open mind, who I like lightness, how I can say very no, let's say shiny objects, but real life and what people to be happy with small things like and I really enjoy what you said. What is happiness for you and what is success for you? To get up, to walk, to do some, on daily routine, which is so, and you're so successful in that. And I agree 100% with you. And I wish to
Well,
many people to do that and enjoy that, not just to work 24 hours a day and be happy.
exactly. Well, my other company, Medicine with Words, that's why I really focus on what I'm saying, what is told to me, the voices in my head, what I'm surrounded by. Words have such an impact. And I was definitely put into a world when I was younger. I will remember things that were said to me. There was one moment where I must have been about 12 years old and maybe 13, and I was standing on the stage at school and we were going up to receive a drama award. And this girl, whose name I will not say, but I know her name, said to me, she was 2 years older than me, and she said, "That's where you belong, the step below me." I've never forgotten that in 30 years, 35 years. So those words that are told to us have an impact. So when we see, in order to be successful, you need to do this, the words that we say, hear, see have an impact. And that's why I feel as a storyteller, actually, one of the things I'd love to do is create a movie without a single word, because I just don't think they're needing to be there sometimes. Actually, don't say anything, don't speak. You can have just as big an impact.
And tell me, your movies, how people can go there to watch it, or are they present somewhere or just on cinemas, or where people can reach out to them to watch your movies or
So there's this
however.
really cool thing. So first of all, if you want to find out anything about me, I realized the other day you type my name into Google and you could put next to it. So you'd say Elizabeth Blake Thomas books, Elizabeth Blake Thomas TED Talks, Elizabeth Blake Thomas movies, Elizabeth, and you just add whatever on, and all this comes up. But as far as movies are concerned, because of different countries, there are different rules. So when you go onto your TV, there's often the search. If you actually put my name into the search, and you can do this for any director, their movies will come up that you can watch.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. So, I will put all links below this episode so on the listeners can go there, and you mentioned your Elizabeth Blake Thomas movies, Elizabeth Blake Thomas, um, oh my God,
Again, books, talks,
books,
creativity coach, website, all of it. You just type my name in and everything will come
podcast.
up. Yes,
But
yeah, podcast, yeah.
yeah, and do you have like your main website,
I
Elizabeth?
do. ElizabethBlakeThomas.com.
So you have everything on your website, what you
Yes,
mentioned,
yes.
because when someone Google it, just it goes from there, from
Exactly,
website. Yeah.
exactly. I just thought that made it easier. And also, I like to keep my life very simple. So I'm also an advocate for slow living. I'm a vegan, a minimalist, and slow living. And so, for me as well, in a world that is so noisy, with so much social media, with so much to look at and to be part of, I try to keep everything very simple for me too. So I have my website. I have my one Instagram and one Facebook. And then when, other things begin, you can find other avenues for it. But it's my one YouTube. It's my one, again, just keeping everything organized, because otherwise you find that your time is taken up with just sustaining things, and it's not sustainable.
Yeah, I see. And I also have only one, only for my business, LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube channel because of the podcast and also audio, like on Spotify, Apple, and other, when RSS feed goes. So that's
Yes,
maybe now for more than 20. I saw on Buzzsprout, on Podbean, more than 20 platforms audio. But however, it's easier for me when you have apps, so people can just listen to it. I can only upload once and then it's going somewhere
exactly.
where I have accounts or just go very spontaneously. I don't know how, but that is the way, And
Exactly.
tell me about, I don't want to ask you first. Do you want to tell us about your TEDx talk, maybe, and your book?
Yeah, so my TEDx talks, I do feel like I am this conduit for ideas and thoughts, and they might suddenly hit me at 3 a.m. It might be after I've rested, it might be when I've lain on the beach, and I'll have ideas and thoughts. And actually, I think my books and my articles and my TEDx talks came about because I just had an idea I wanted to share. I'll come up with a phrase, a sentence, a concept, and I'm like, that needs sharing. That's come down to me as a download for some reason. And I really listen to that now. I used to just think I was like, I had ideas, but now I recognize it's a download. And so my TED Talks came about because I needed a bigger platform. I wanted a bigger stage. Also, I wanted to challenge myself. You don't just get given one of these. You have to write something that's good. You have to, option it to various places. They have to want you submit it. You have to go through rigorous interview processes. And so I wanted to challenge myself. And so the first one I did was a big challenge because you had to learn it off by heart. So that's getting the brain going. I had to structure it in a certain way. You have to hit these beats. And I wanted to share my story. I wanted to give people the choice of different paths that they're allowed to take, not just the ones we're taught. And then my second TED talk, I saw a friend was putting an event on for TED speakers, and again, I wasn't chosen because he just liked me. I was chosen because I had to submit. Did I fit? What was my great idea? And my idea is life changing. And again, it's using words, the power behind words. And I really enjoyed doing them both. And I really enjoyed putting myself out there. And I've got over 100,000 views on both of them. So it's really important to me to do that. And if I don't have that platform, then I have my books. So my previous book, Living with Intention, this again is basically all my ideas. And I was like, well, I want to share them. So I put them in books. I put things there, my information. I have to download that information for people to see. And even if it's just one person that it's affected, I mean, I know it's more because I get lots of lovely comments from people, but that means I'm putting something good into the world, and I enjoy that. That's the enjoyment for me.
And this is your legacy for people.
Yes, exactly. I
When you
saw
have a
something
written
today.
content, so that is not like a value. It's such a big value, such a big benefit because when you write by your hand, so that's amazing, really. And
Exactly.
I really enjoyed your talking to you today. Really, just
Oh, thank you. Well, this is also, I saw something today that was talking about ancestors. And actually, because I go to this wonderful, I don't stop shop in stores. I shop in a place where you can take your jar in and they refill things. So it's a refill store. So I don't go to the other places. And there's this one place, and it said on the window, just listen to your ancestors. And I was like, gosh, that's so simple, yet that's so true. And so, therefore, I am going to be that version. As you said, this is going to be there in some form, hopefully forever and ever, in a world that might exist, for people to listen and understand. So I feel very grateful that I get that opportunity to do that.
That's amazing, really. I really appreciate it. So that's because and this is your authentic, very authentic person, and this is your authenticity. So, as I said, every single person has a story. Every single person has different. We're different, and we are unique. So that's
Well, and I think authenticity is the key to all of this because even now, when I'm sitting talking to you, I feel so, my heart is calm, my nervous system is regulated. I am, I'm not having to think, oh, do I know that? Do I not know that? Should I have researched that? There's a flow and an authenticity. And when we're in that flow, we know it and we need to listen to ourselves more about that. Our bodies are telling us what we need at this moment. And I feel that very strongly when I know I'm doing the right thing and when I'm doing something that doesn't quite feel in the flow.
that's really good, and for our listeners, just that people can just you have such amazing learned lessons for people to speak to and to share because I will be so happy that some of audience just can just learn and use something from your experience just to to be in their life, something like that, that they can um, put and install whatever, that they will be
Yeah,
inspired by your story.
practically. Yeah,
Practically,
practically
yes.
use things. Yeah.
Yes, of course. And you mentioned also that you help. And by the way, about the TEDx, I'm so excited to want to be. My wish is to be a TEDx speaker for many years. And for me, it's so important maybe to speak online. For example, if I'm going to speak in English, but also in terms of TEDx, to be TEDx speaker, you are on the stage, and I think that those duration is about 20 minutes. I'm not sure how much. What
It
is the time?
varies. You can do a five
Fif-
minute and you can do up to 20 minutes. It
okay,
depends. But
depends.
again, it's whatever you've got to share, it's saying it in the most concise way and in a way that's going to have that impact on people. I prefer to say 5 minutes of good stuff than 20 minutes of bad stuff.
So I will share your links. So also I
Thank
will
you.
put it, and I believe that you have all those links on your website as well, so
Yes,
that
yes.
listeners can go there and listen your and tell us a little bit about your new book, what you're
So my
writing in the
new book,
moment.
yes, it's a very powerful book. So I started writing it over 2 years ago. Well, I'd actually started writing it as I was just living and going through life. And I always take notes and I write things, and I never know where they're going to come to fruition. And then it came over, it was a July 4th weekend. And I thought, right, I know what I'm going to call it. I know what I need to do. So I just spent 4 days getting everything that I'd handwritten all together and put it in on the computer. And it was originally called Life, Love, Loss: Lessons from My Dog. Now, my dog was my emotional support animal, my PTSD support animal, my best friend who came with me everywhere. When she arrived 13 years ago, she hasn't left my side other than for a trip to Peru. And so I realized and recognized how much she changed my life. And I realized as well how many other people felt so connected to their four-legged friends, or maybe, birds or whatever it is, their animals, their pets. And so I found lots of stories from people, and I was putting this all together, and I'd nearly finished it. I'd nearly finished it. I was just getting the last bit edited, and then in June, she unfortunately tragically passed away unexpectedly, and that was a huge shock. And my book that I'd been writing, the loss part, was about anticipatory grief. And anticipatory grief is something that we don't speak about either. So I was quite happy with my book. And then this happened. So that's when I started to write, pen to paper, whatever was coming out, how I felt, what I was going through. and I was unprepared to recognize what that was, because I wasn't even conscious to recognize what that was until the last month. And this last month, I was able to go, wow, this is the most powerful section of the book, because it is real life conscious grief. And I know nobody else has ever done that. It's like a live version of it. And so I've now added that to the book. I've completed it. It's in its final edit. It's very hard for me to read, very hard, because I look at it and go, wow, this is what I was feeling. But it is now called My Dog is Dead and So Am I. And it covers, it doesn't actually go into my diagnosis for autism, because that was actually something that my dog encouraged me because of the way I was grieving. I realized there was something different. That will be a totally separate book, but this takes you up until that grief moment and suffering in grief. And it's a very, very powerful book.
And I really I hope that one day I will have chance to read it, or maybe digital on Amazon, or yeah, and I can not wait to see a book, and so we can promote it also in my podcast to talk about your books, but to
Thank you.
have a
Well, I think
special
it's
episode about it.
Thank you. I'd really like that, because actually that's what my fourth season of my podcast is going to be about as well. And that's where I'll also bring guests on, because the purpose of it is to start the conversations that we don't talk about, moments in life that transform you. And I feel like there's a lot of people that would like the space to be able to discuss that and talk about it. And it shows your vulnerability. And I think as a filmmaker, as an author, as a TEDx speaker, what I always try to do is share my vulnerability.
Yeah, I see that. And tell me, I didn't ask you about your clients. For example, who do you mostly serve? Who they are, specifically women, men, you work online, offline, just who do you, who do, who they are, like from which industry or something like that, just because in terms of podcast and KSM Podcast, Going Business Online with Kristina, just like for the guest speaker, I asked my guest speaker specifically for my audience, just to know, to share it, or they can connect with you just to solve their problems.
Well, I thank you for that. I really enjoy finding each client's need, because everybody's coming from a different foundation. So I'm not a creativity coach that just goes in with my ideas. I have to know where your foundation is starting. What's your starting point? And it's men, women, all ages, actually all industries. But what I find is interesting is some people come to me thinking they're looking for one thing, and then I unravel everything and they go, oh, I had no idea that's what I needed to know, or that's what I needed to
Or
focus on.
maybe I was thinking about it, but now it can
Exactly.
come on my door. you
Yeah,
know.
well, there was this one wonderful lady I had actually from England, and she's business, and she wanted to be a speaker, and she wanted to, work on her speaking skills. And I said, that's absolutely fine, but we can't write a speech until we know who you are and what you're writing about and why you're writing it. So I kept going backwards, reverse engineering it to a place where she understood what her vulnerability was, what her foundation was, and what story she wanted to share. Again, so it was authentic. Because otherwise, you're going to get people just speaking or writing things that are not coming from an authentic place. We have to have experienced it, we have to understand it. So I get all sorts of business people, creatives, young and older, some people who may be lost and they're not quite sure where they're going, or some people that have been putting off what they were wanting to do. And I give people that permission to start.
And when you talk about those people, do you talk about helping them in writing storytelling, or because you have many skills, so what is the core of that when you
It's
help them?
creative. Whatever it
Creative.
is, it starts creatively. So they might think they want to do something, and then actually, once we work through all my
Maybe they wanted
practical
to write a book,
exercises,
for example,
exactly, we
or write an
find out what
article,
it is.
or prepare
Exactly.
speech, or for
Exactly. So we find out just who they are and why they're wanting to do it. Why is the most powerful word. Why? It's three letters. Why are you doing this? Because if someone comes to me and they say they want to write this book and they're just trying to prove their father wrong because he said they can't, okay, well, that's an idea of why you want to start. But why? And we go back and back and reverse engineer it. Anything is possible. That's the thing. Because also, people have got in their mind a set idea of what a book looks like. Well, my book must be 300 pages and it must be this. And well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a short story. Maybe that's all you need to do. Maybe there's something else that's going to come out of this. So I really work on people in all industries to find their voice, to find their authenticity, start it from their foundation. Because, as you said, everybody wants to leave some version of a legacy. And that's all this is, really.
yes, of course. And for many years as a professor, as a teacher, from my experience, and now as a coach, people, I know one of my clients, she said, I cannot do that. And I said, I'm not for that. And I said, start with me. I will have some conversation. And now she's so good in that as a digital marketing coach because, you know, to running building running team for the web and graphic design, like Ramos's team. But also I started my KSM, Growing Business Online brand. This is my own brand. I created, I start designing, I didn't do that because, and all the time people ask me, hey, Kristina, I have now a website. How am I going to get clients? But I said, like a driver, know your map. Where do you want it to drive? Where do you want it to go? And you need to manage that website, either that you wanted to do it or someone else for you. But also, when people just start with something, you need to help them to understand what they need, what they want in some way. And this is something when I really like to help people uh, to get more visibility. What it is meaning by that? I cannot guarantee them you will have more clients, but you will be more present. You will be level up. Either that you wanted to be present, like to have backlinks, to write for some magazines, or to create your website and what to put in, how to do analyzing website. This is my way of consulting and coaching, and also to get more visibility. If you wanted to run your podcast, for example, this is what I coach people how to start as a business owner to start running their own podcast and talking about from their expertise or just have guest speakers, however, because if I can do it, you can do it, as Bob Proctor said. Because I started, as I mentioned at the beginning of this interview today, I was so shy in front of camera, and I wanted just to help people to encourage them and say them, okay, you can do it, but you need to start. You need to take action. If you don't take
Yes.
action, you can just imagine that. It's different when you start and you put in your hands and do that than just to, and I wanted to start, but I don't. I didn't. Why? Start. Start. Momentum is every single moment in our life. Not, don't wait. Don't waste time. Just
Absolutely.
start.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to also work out your USP. What's your unique selling point? Why you? And then also to find the need of what's out there. Because actually maybe there's something that you needed and it doesn't exist. Can you fill that market gap? Or is there something that you've noticed is not in the marketplace that you think there's a need for this? And
Mm.
then the flow, because if you're not enjoying it, like I said, or you don't want to do it, or it's something you really don't want to do, it's not going to work anyway. So those three things are the most important things for me.
That's good, and I really enjoyed this conversation today because we were in many spaces of your life and your business. And before we ramp up our call today, what do you want it to stress, like a highlight in your business, like maybe specifically and message for audience, if they want to have business idea or they want to start, and however, whatever they want to do, just to start, never give up.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think it's really important about getting the clarity first on what it is, because again, there's so much noise in the world. You might be also listening to voices that have said that's not possible or this is a good idea. And without realizing it, you don't have the clarity on what it is you're looking for. And I have several exercises, practical tools that I do with people to work that out, because we need to know who we are and what we want. So, for example, I'll give you a very basic thing. There is no point me starting a business for a ski company and being based in Colorado, because I don't ski, I don't like the cold, and I don't want to move there. So that's not going to be the business. Now, that's a pretty obvious thing to work out. But what I try to get people to do is to work out who you are. I know that I don't want to work with 100 people in an office space. So I work with people and say, what do you physically like in your day to day existence? What do you mentally like in your day to day existence? Where do you want to be in 10 years' time? Have a think about that. If this was your last week on earth, how would you want that to look? So I have so many different tools, and then people collate these ideas, and there's crossovers. And it could be as simple as someone saying, hold on a minute, I've noticed I like nature. I want to be by myself. And I really want to work baking cakes. I like eating cakes, and I know what cakes taste like. What crossover is there as a business? So I get people to practically work out not just what they think a business is, but who they are, because then that has the clarity on what your business should be. And it will be successful, and there will be longevity.
Especially when you enjoy your business, especially if you do that inside of you, what you feel, then just it's that you do that, I must do that because I get such a big income.
Exactly.
I like, as you mentioned, I like to not to have a big space office with many people. I like to be so specific, very creative, and every single podcast episode is different. And it's very in flow and very organic. And I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah,
And
I
people
agree.
and people resonate with that. So and resonate with that energy. And we cannot work with everyone because we need to be at the same frequency. I mean, in terms of
Absolutely.
energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Elizabeth, it's such a pleasure talking to you today. I really enjoyed, and yeah, so uh, we can say your website is Elizabeth Thomas Blake
ElizabethBlakeThomas.com.
Thomas.com.
Yeah.
Please, if you need any help, if you need any kind of help, Elizabeth can help you with storytelling, whatever you need. If you have some creativity and you don't know how to start, please go ahead, connect with Elizabeth. I will put all links and she can help you a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It was such a pleasure having you today. I really enjoyed, and I think that our audience will enjoy too. So thank you again, and see you very soon in a new episode. Thank you so
Thank
very
you.
much, and bye for now. Bye.